If you're watching this, something inside you has already stirred. You felt it, that quiet knowing underneath all the noise, that whisper beneath the busyness of daily life that says, there is more to this than what I was taught, more to me than what I was told, more to reality than what I can see. And you are right. But I want to speak to you today, not as someone who has all the answers. I want to speak to you honestly, because I think the spiritual community sometimes gets so caught up in the language of awakening that we forget to actually live the truth we say we believe. So this is a teaching, but it is also a challenge, because if you are truly on this path, if you genuinely believe what you say you believe, then certain things have to follow. Certain ways of living have to change, and certain comfortable hiding places have to be given up. Are you ready for that? Let's go. You did not arrive on this earth by accident. You did not stumble into this body, this family, this culture, this moment in history randomly. There is something in you, and I believe you already sense this, that chose this experience, that stepped into this life with intention, even if that intention is now buried under decades of conditioning, pain, distraction, and forgetting. Many traditions across the world and across thousands of years have pointed to this same truth, that the human being is not merely a biological accident wandering through a mechanical universe, that consciousness is not produced by the brain the way a factory produces a product, that we are, at our core, something far vaster and far more extraordinary than we have ever been led to believe. We are, in the most literal sense, awareness itself, having a human experience. And part of that experience, a necessary and profound part, is the forgetting. The veil, the descent into what some call density, what others call the third dimension, what simply feels like weight and limitation and confusion of ordinary human life. You came here to forget who you are so that you could have the genuine experience of remembering. Think about that, and I want you to really sit with it, because the remembering is not just an intellectual exercise. It is not reading the right books or learning the right vocabulary. It is a lived transformation, a return to something you already are but have been conditioned to deny. And that process of returning, that is what we are talking about today. Okay, here's what I observe in people everywhere, at every level of spiritual development, in every culture and background. People do not believe in themselves. Not truly, not deeply, not in the quiet moments when the inspiration wears off and life gets difficult and ordinary. Underneath the achievements, the spiritual frameworks, the positive affirmations, the vision boards, there is, for most people, a wound that has never been properly looked at. A deeply embedded belief that says, I am not enough, I am not worthy, I need something outside of me to complete me, validate me, save me. This wound does not look like what you'd expect. Sometimes it looks like arrogance. Sometimes it looks like over-spiritualizing everything. Sometimes it looks like constantly seeking the next teacher, the next modality, the next awakening experience, because the last one wore off and the emptiness came back. And here is something important I want you to hear. This wound was not your fault. It was not a failure. It was installed layer by layer from the moment you were born by systems and people and cultures that were themselves operating from the same wound. Parents who didn't know their own worth, passing unconscious beliefs to children who couldn't question them. Schools that rewarded conformity and punished authentic self-expression. Religions that taught you that you were born broken and needed saving from outside yourself. Media that profits from your insecurity. Social systems that function more smoothly when people don't question who they are. The result is a species that has largely outsourced its power, that waits for permission, that looks for saviors in leaders, in gurus, in relationships, in substances, in ideologies, because looking inward feels either terrifying or simply never occurred to them as a real option. And this is not a judgment. This is an observation made with compassion, because you cannot heal what you cannot see, and you cannot see what you have never been given permission to look at. That permission, I am giving it to you right now. So look, the beginning of the inner work is not meditation. It is not breath work. It is not crystals or frequencies or plant medicine, though some of these things can certainly open doors. The real beginning is a willingness to question, specifically to question who you are and what your beliefs are actually creating in your life. Most people never do this. They inherit a set of beliefs about themselves and the world, treat them as objective reality, and spend their entire lives defending and living from those beliefs without ever stopping to ask, is this actually true? Your beliefs are not neutral. They are not passive observers of your life. They are active forces. They filter your perception, meaning you literally only notice the things in reality that confirm what you already believe, and you unconsciously screen out everything else. They shape your behavior, determine how you show up in relationships, in work, in moments of opportunities or crisis. They set invisible ceilings on what you allow yourself to receive: love, abundance, recognition, peace. And perhaps most powerfully, they create emotional and energetic states that broadcast a frequency into the field of reality around you, drawing back experiences, people, and circumstances that match that frequency. So a person who carries a deep unconscious belief that they are unworthy of love will, despite their conscious desire for connection, repeatedly create situations that confirm that unworthiness. They will choose partners who are unavailable. They will sabotage intimacy when it gets too close. They will interpret neutral behavior from others as rejection, not because they are broken or cursed, but because their internal frequency is running a program that reality is simply reflecting back. The belief creates the evidence. The evidence reinforces the belief, and the loop continues. The only way to interrupt that loop is exactly what I said: radical, honest questioning. Not positive thinking layered over the wound, not spiritual bypassing that skips the darkness and jumps into the light, and not performing awakening while the old program runs unchallenged underneath. Actually sitting down with yourself and asking, what do I really believe about myself? Where did that belief come from? Was I the one who chose it, or was it handed to me? And is it actually true? The last question is the most important one, because most of the beliefs that limit us the most, when we finally hold them up to honest examination, simply don't hold up. They were never truth. They were someone else's fear, someone else's limitation, passed on to us at an age when we had no capacity to question it. You are allowed to put it down. Now, I want to speak directly to those of you who are already familiar with the language of conscious creation. You know about the law of attraction, who understand that consciousness shapes reality, who have done the workshops, read the books, listened to the podcasts. Because here is where I want to be most direct with you. Knowing that you are the creator of your reality is one thing. Living it, actually consistently, unglamorously living it, is another thing entirely. And the gap between those two things is where most people on the spiritual path quietly get stuck. They understand the principles. They can speak about frequency and vibration and manifestation with fluency and confidence. But their actual life, their relationships, their finances, their health, their sense of inner peace doesn't yet reflect the truth they say they believe. And rather than look honestly at the gap, it becomes easy to explain it away, to say the timing isn't right, to find another teaching that reframes the situation, to go deeper into the intellectual exploration of consciousness, rather than doing the uncomfortable, ordinary, daily work of actually changing. Now, this is not criticism. I say this because it is a pattern I see widely, and because the people caught in it are often genuinely sincere. They want to live this truth. They just haven't yet understood what living it actually requires. So let me be clear about what being the creator of your reality actually means in practical terms. It does not mean that if you think positive thoughts hard enough, everything you want will appear. That is a shallow reading of a deep truth. Okay? It means that the quality of your being, not your thinking, not your intention setting, but the actual frequency of your moment-to-moment lived experience is in constant conversation with the reality around you. Not just your conscious desires, your whole self, including the parts you haven't looked at yet, including the fears running underneath the affirmations, including the grief that hasn't been processed, including the places where you still don't fully believe you deserve what you're asking for. All of that is broadcasting. All of it is creating. So the work of conscious creation is not primarily external. It is the ongoing, honest, courageous work of aligning your inner world, bringing your actual lived frequency into resonance with the reality you know is true. That is the real practice. Here's something most teachings don't emphasize enough. Okay? Your thoughts are not your deepest creative force, your felt sense. The actual vibration quality of your lived experience in your body, in your nervous system, beneath your conscious mind, that is what is doing the creating. You can think abundance while feeling lack, and lack is what will be created. You can say you believe in love while your body is braced for abandonment, and abandonment is what will show up. This is why surface level positive thinking often doesn't work, and why people get frustrated and give up on these ideas. They've changed the words, but not the frequency underneath. The frequency underneath is changed not through thought, but through presence, through honest inner work, through felt experience, through the slow, consistent practice of returning to yourself again and again and asking, what am I actually radiating right now? Not what do I want to radiate, what is actually moving through me in this moment. And then without judgment, without bypassing, meeting that honestly, allowing it, moving through it, letting it complete itself so that something cleaner can emerge. This is the unglamorous heart of the spiritual path, and it is where real transformation lives. So, if you are someone who has awakened to these truths, if you genuinely know that you are a conscious creator, that you are an infinite being of love and awareness, that reality is responsive to your frequency, then here is the question I want to leave you with. Not what is your next move? That is still a third dimensional question. It assumes you need to figure something out. The next action will create the shift. The real question is simply this: what are you being right now? Not what are you planning to be, not what you were yesterday or hope to be tomorrow. Right now, in your body, in your relationships, in your ordinary daily moments, what is the quality of your presence? Are you living as the truth you know? Or are you still waiting, still performing, still looking for one more confirmation, one more sign, one more piece of understanding before you fully step into what you already are? Because all of the versions of reality you desire, all of it already exists as a frequency available to you. The question is never whether it is possible. The question is whether you are willing to be the person who lives in that frequency right now, before the external evidence shows up, before the confirmation comes. That willingness, that unconditional commitment to the truth of what you are is the move, is the only move. Everything else, the synchronicities, the opportunities, the people, the doors that open, they are automatic responses to a frequency that is clean and clear and committed. You do not have to figure out the path. You have to be the frequency of the person who is already walking it. So I want to close with this. The world needs people who are not just awake in theory, who are not just fluent in spiritual language, who are not just inspired in high moments and then back to old patterns when life gets heavy. The world needs people who are quietly, consistently, humbly living this truth in their own home, in their relationships, and how they treat themselves in private, and how they show up for others without needing recognition for it. That is the real teaching, not the words, not the frameworks, the life. You said you are awake. You said you are aware. You said you know you are a creator. Then live like it. Not one day, today, and that is enough.